This episode is for the writer who thinks that if they don't write in a specific way, that they'll fail. But what ends up happening is that the processes that are taught to you that you think you have to follow precisely don't work because they weren't created with your brain and your creative wiring in mind. Writing advice can be helpful, but only if you can approach these rules as tools instead. This episode was inspired by a fantastic conversation I had inside of this week's Memoir Method workshop, and I'm bringing it to you here. Let's get started. You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started. So before I tell you about this Memoir Method call, let me give you a brief rundown of what the Memoir Method is. The Memoir Method is set up into 3 phases of curriculum. And there's homework after each one that I review for the writers in each cohort. Every week we have a workshop call where writers bring their questions and whatever came up for them that week doing the work. One writer felt a lot of resistance to one of the early modules in phase 1. And it's perhaps the most important module of them all. And it's the one that I give the most emphasis to really nail down. She did the homework. It didn't really resonate. It didn't really click with her. And then we moved forward. She didn't feel great about what came through, but we moved forward in the work. And I always trust my writers to trust their process and lead themselves through this work. And you'll see that that's exactly what happened. She led herself. So a few weeks later, we went into structure work. And she unleashed in that section. She clicked in with this work. She spent a lot of time pouring out her story into these beat sheets. And she tried to call it word vomit at first, but I called her out on that. And I knew that what she was doing was actually clearing her mental space. As an editor, I love word vomit in this stage of developmental editing because it really gets me into your head and I can kind of see all the pieces that we're working with. So she thought that this was not a good way to do it, but I gently corrected her and said, absolutely, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. So that's over the past few weeks, right? Today, at the time of recording this, I had a workshop call with my writers. And here's what this writer shared. She said that she was reviewing her homework and my feedback. And then she had the biggest breakthrough. She found her hook. This writer has been deep in the querying platform building side of publishing and writing, and the consistent feedback that she was receiving was you need a better hook. This was confusing to her because she thought that her story was the hook. It was not clicking for her. She did not understand what she was missing. Then she comes into the Memoir Method, goes through these modules, through these exercises, gets my feedback on all of her work. And then she all of a sudden found the exact hook that her memoir needed. This massive breakthrough just completely clicked into place. And that download led her back into that early module that she couldn't make sense of earlier. And now she knows exactly what she needs to do with that earlier work. She's going to go back, revise. I'm going to be able to go back in and give more feedback. So as she was telling the cohort about this massive breakthrough that she had, she tried to apologize for going out of order, and I stopped her. This is what I want us to focus on in today's episode. What I do with writers is not prescriptive. The Memoir Method isn't a this is how you write memoir course. You won't fail if you go out of order. Yes, I put things in a specific order because of foundational building blocks, but this writer proves that you can go out of order. And what I saw play out in real time with this writer is that we are all wired to create and write differently. She needed that structure homework to unlock the deeper work from an earlier phase of the program. That's perfect. What I want to talk about today is that these writing rules that we think exist, 1, aren't rules at all. They are tools. And 2, we need to trust ourselves and our process to know how to implement and integrate them. Writing rules should never be treated as rules. So let's think about a toolbox. You have nails, screws, a hammer, a couple of screwdrivers, a wall putty, a drill maybe, a level. You're going to choose your tool based on the task in front of you. I'm not going to reach for a screw when I need a nail and a hammer to hang a picture. Writing your memoir is very similar. You have been amassing a set of writing tools, sometimes presented as rules or advice, but no one has taught you how to use these tools or when to use them. How you use these tools will depend on not only the story that you're writing, but also on how your brain works, how your creativity is wired. And that's exactly what this writer did. I gave her a screwdriver in phase 1 of the program. She turned it over, fiddled with it, decided to move forward into phase 2. Then later, I gave her a hammer and she went to town. She knew exactly what to do with it. After she did the hammering, then she could go back and see exactly where she needed to use the screwdriver. Is that making sense? I feel like I might be losing the thread in this metaphor. Other writers get the screwdriver and dig in, but there's no one right or wrong way to write and revise your memoir. Again, I'm here to impart tools to you and then help you know how and when to use them. That's what I saw happen with this writer. She went in what she thought was an out of order way, but what she was actually doing was working with her brain to achieve the breakthrough that she actually needed. She needed these tools. She needs all of them. But when she activates them, when she uses them, that was all dependent on how her brain is wired to create. And she went in a different order, but the result is the same. So this leads me to really the crux of today's episode. This Memoir Method writer trusted herself and her intuition as a writer. She could have stalled out at that early section where she felt resistance. She could have tried to really just stick with it and nail it in before she moved forward. But she didn't. She noted the resistance. She moved on with the program. And then she followed her own creative pull toward the structure homework when it was available to her. And what resulted from that was the exact idea that she needed to go back and execute the earlier exercise. All of these pieces are there. She's executing all of it, but her brain is wired to do it in a different order from how I presented it to her. So many writers come to me looking for me to fix their memoir, wave a wand, make it all make sense. Again, writing memoir can feel really messy and overwhelming. That's part of the process. I don't fix your work. What I do is I give you the tools to help you know how to do it yourself. I'm here to help you use the tools, but you won't feel good about your work if I'm the one who does it for you. Writers also come to me wanting my validation. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you're good at this. Yes, keep going. And here's the thing. I'm actually really happy to be a cheerleader. I'm very good at it, but I can't coach you in your writing process. That's what I'm really good at. I can't coach you in your writing process if you need me to stay a cheerleader. So what usually happens with my clients is that, yes, I start off validating and cheerleading. You need that sometimes. You need someone else to be a cheerleader. But after a few calls, after I give them some tools, after we start integrating them, they stop needing that. They start to trust themselves as writers. This is what happens. They start to feel like real writers, and that is where their work really takes off. When you are taking yourself seriously, your entire writing process and your output shifts. When you start acting like you deserve a spot on the bookshelf, before signing with an agent, before landing a book deal, before setting a launch date, the way that you write, what you write, how you show up in your life changes. Being a writer isn't a hobby. It's not something that you can pick up every now and then and still expect success. If you want to be a writer, a published writer, you get to recode what you think about yourself, how you use your time, and the energy that you bring to the work. When you can start trusting yourself, taking yourself seriously, the tools that you're learning will work. Trusting yourself as a creative writer means that you now have discernment over which writing rules to follow, when to follow them, when to break them, and how to break them. There's this principle in editing that I learned in one of my earliest editing courses, and it's prescriptive editing versus descriptive editing. Prescriptive editing is a type of editing that makes sure that you follow all the rules. Sometimes prescriptive editing is necessary. Sometimes you need the rules to make sure that you are communicating what you want to communicate. Descriptive editing is the side of editing that's really flexible, that allows us to look at this set of rules and decide which ones get to be broken and how to break them in an effective, impactful way. This is what you get to do as a writer when you take yourself seriously. This is how you get to interact with these writing tools that you're learning. If you don't take yourself seriously yet, then writing rules will only add noise to your process and will actually diminish the trust that you have in yourself. You're going to be looking to the rules to make sure that you're doing everything right instead of trusting your own internal coding, your own internal wiring on how you are designed to create and write. If this writer had followed the rules, put in air quotes, of the program and the Memoir Method, she would have gotten stuck and she would never have had the breakthrough that she actually needed. This is the real work of memoir writing. The publishing industry has been so stylized and glamorized that writers now feel like they need a personalized invite to be taken seriously. But the truth is that no one will take you seriously as a writer if you can't do that for yourself. Why should any reader take a chance on your memoir if you're not confident in what you're writing? Why should any agent sign you if you can't go to the mat for your own story? You have to be your own biggest cheerleader because that will determine the quality of your output more than any other course that you can take, more than any other editor that you hire. That's the truth behind writing rules. They're tools more than anything, and how well you implement them has everything to do with how much you can trust yourself as a writer, with how deeply you take yourself seriously in this work. And this is the entire premise behind what I'm doing this summer at Charlotte Writes, what I'm doing for myself personally as a writer. We are digging deep into the work behind writer's block and how to take yourself seriously as a memoir writer. This is the mindset work, the identity work that writers skip over because they think that it comes later. But your success as a writer depends on how you think about yourself now. We're going to start in June with what I'm calling the Writer's Workshop. This is a week-long container with 3 workshops, each focusing on a different element of the writing life, each of them designed to help you take yourself seriously and then act on it. This is the work that I've had to walk myself through over the past several months, and it's the work that will determine not only how successful you will be as a writer, but also how much fun you will have while doing it. The link to join the Writer's Workshop is in the show notes. And stay tuned for next week because I have a brand new free resource coming your way called Decoding Your Writer's Block, where you will learn how to look at your blocks honestly and assess where your writing life needs to pivot. In this episode, I've also mentioned my Memoir Method program. This is an 8-week coaching, editing, workshop hybrid for memoir writers who are ready to take themselves seriously. The spring cohort is currently wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. I will not be running another cohort until the fall. So I have 2 options for you if this is sounding like something that you want to get in on. One, you can hop on the wait list for the Memoir Method and be the first to know when the fall cohort opens. Spots are limited. Or if you really just want to get into this work now, I am opening up a couple of spots this summer for a Memoir Method VIP experience where I walk you through this work privately. It is a more condensed 4-week container with just you and me. You have access to the work. You go through, you still get my feedback, and then we have weekly calls during those 4 weeks. So if that's something that you are interested in, go ahead and DM me on Instagram at the.memoir.coach or email me at hello@bookishedits.com and let me know that you're interested in that and we'll get you set up. That is for the writer who is just really ready to hit the ground running, take this information, integrate it, and off to the races with you for your manuscript. So if that's something that you are interested in, again, email me or DM me on Instagram and I'll get you set up. So thank you so much for joining me. I am really excited about what is coming this summer. And I'm really excited about helping you recode how you see yourself as a writer, because that really is what's stopping so many of you, is that you have a hard time taking yourself seriously. And I want to undercut that. I want to help you recode it and move more confidently as a writer. And that is what summer 2026 at Charlotte Writes is all about. Thanks again for listening. I really hope I see you inside of the Writer's Workshop, and I'll see you next week. You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method podcast. The Memoir Method podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.